Yo, what's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte. Guys, we're taking a look today at the Minnesota Wild as big news out of the Twin Cities as the Minnesota Wild have re-signed forward Kirill Kaprizov to an extension. So we'll be taking a look at that in today's video. So, Kirill Kaprizov had his first NHL season last year. He played 55 games with the Minnesota Wild in his rookie season, won the Calder Trophy for 2021, and he's also got a new big contract, a 5-year contract, $45 million on this contract over the next 5 years. You do the math, it's a $9 million AAV. That means annual average value. So on the cap, that's $9 million that the Minnesota Wild will now not have. You also factor in the almost $11 million in buyout from the Zach Parise and Ryan Suter situation over years 2, 3, and 4 of that buyout, which is starting next year for the next 3 years, plus this Kaprizov contract, plus what you would need in a Kevin Fiala contract, as he's on a 1-year deal this year, so next year that could be a problem. But the good news is the Minnesota Wild have locked up their franchise player. That is really what this is about. And this is that situation where the Minnesota Wild realize that, listen, we've made some interesting moves this summer. We want to win the Stanley Cup this year. Bill Guerin made that quite clear by moving out Suter, by moving out Parise, by making some changes to this roster. This was not necessarily just the icing on the cake. You don't start anywhere without this signing for the Wild. I mean, if they started the season without Kirill Kaprizov, not only would it be an off-ice distraction, but now you have a player of such a magnitude of Kaprizov just sitting there, and it would have been a problem for the Wild. Now, the good news is, especially in Minnesota, a very rabid fan base, they definitely have to be happy with this signing. It is a little bit high. I mean, it's a 5-year, $45 million contract, and you look at Kaprizov, and what he's done in his career so far, I mean, it is impressive, absolutely. But he's 24 years old. He just played his first season in the NHL. But what his agent and his camp were really trying to do here was say, hey, listen, I know it's not NHL statistics, but look at what he did in the KHL. You know, yes, he only played one season in the NHL last year, but he put up 51 points in 55 games with the Wild, 27 goals, 24 assists. But you look at since his 2014-2015 season in the KHL, he's been a really good player. I mean, even in his first season, 8 points in 31 games, 27 points in 53 games. You look at, it just continued to go up and up every season. 51 points in 57 games. And in the 2019-2020 season, he played 57 games. He picked up 62 points. He was over a point per game. Now, again, that is the KHL. That is something that has to be factored in here. But this is a player that is just he's so dynamic and so important for this team. And again, a team that has really been starving and been a little bit deprived of that true scoring player. And again, that's nothing against Zach Parise and Ryan Suter, but he definitely brings that dynamic and edge that some of the older guys in the old regime of the Wild that they didn't have necessarily. So this contract will, yes, indeed take him into unrestricted free agency, which means in 5 years from now, Kirill Kaprizov could sit there and say, you know what, I kind of don't want to be here anymore. This team hasn't been successful, or they've been very successful, but I'd like to play somewhere else. He can make that decision on his own. Now, the Minnesota Wild, again, a 3-year deal would have walked him into free agency. So the Minnesota Wild have bought 2 years of unrestricted free agency from Kirill Kaprizov. Now, that does hold some magnitude here because, like I mentioned, with the situation with Ryan Suter and Zach Parise, in years 2, 3, and 4 of that buyout, they are going to be hefty. And it just so happens to align perfectly with this Kaprizov contract. This is year 1 of the buyout, right? So it's not that bad. But then you're buying year 2, 3, and 4, which are going to be very heavy on the salary cap with these buyouts. You're going to have an extra year where you could figure out you're going to have some cap space again for Kaprizov if you decide to go for that next big contract at 29 years old, when he's hopefully had more success in the league, maybe won a trophy, Maurice Richard Rocket as the best goal scorer in the league, and get some more accolades. He'll probably be making more money too. Again, we probably won't be in the flat cap era at that point, so he may be one of the highest paid players in the entire NHL by that point, depending on how things work out. So Kirill Kaprizov, he gets his payday, and the Minnesota Wild lock him up more than a 1, a 2, a 3, or even a 4-year contract. So I do like this move for both sides. It does show that maybe Kaprizov did want to be in Minnesota. Again, if he was so set on signing a 3-year deal, they probably could have gotten that, but I think there was a little bit of leeway in you weren't going to get him for $8 million, and if you wanted to get him at 3 years, I think it was a good job by Bill Guerin. Yes, he overcompensated with yearly salary, giving him $9 million per year, but he also has him for 5 years, which is perfect for the Minnesota Wild in that direction they're going in. And you could probably argue, again, unless he decides to leave in 5 years, you're going with the concept that this is your time to win. Your window is now and the next 5 years. And you look at some of the prospects on this team. You have guys like Joel Eriksson-Ek, who had a breakout season last year, not to mention got a big payday this summer. Kevin Fiala, 1-year contract for him. Marco Rossi, Matthew Boldy, some of the young guys coming in, as well as guys like Jordan Greenway. So the Minnesota Wild are going in the right direction. They do have to get another center. That is something that going into the preseason I am kind of watching with the Wilds. You know, who is that guy? Is it going to be a Tomas Hertl? Is it going to be a Dylan Strome? I'm just throwing out names. Is it going to be Ryan Strome? I mean, there's different guys that are on the market. The question is, who are the Minnesota Wild going to go with? And with their current cap situation, it makes things a little bit more interesting because they don't necessarily have much cap space. After this signing, it does put them in a little bit of a bind. They have $3.2 million in cap space, which means they can't get a Tomas Hertl straight up right now. They don't have the cap space. He's coming in at $5 or $6 million. So if they want to make that kind of move, they're going to have the other team retain salary, which also means you may have to give up somebody you don't want to, which could be a Marco Rossi or a Matthew Boldy or one of those young guys, which I don't, again, because of the cap space, that probably isn't even an option for the Wild. And that's probably why we haven't seen them get a Christian Dvorak or one of these centers, because they don't want to give up prospects that are cheaper on the cap. It does make sense. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you think of the Minnesota Wild going into the season? I think this is really the big quintessential move that we have been talking about, and the Minnesota Wild are able to lock them up. So Bill Guerin was able to keep, he kept his foot down and said, listen, we aren't signing you to a 3-year deal or a 1-year deal. We want you here long term. So now all the questions about him getting traded and this and that, we still have a couple years till that ever comes back into the conversation. So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL and more videos just like this one, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. Guys, make sure to check out our Streamlabs shop in the description down below. You can pick up some Goal Line Hockey swag. We got coffee mugs, sweatshirts, t-shirts, anything, backpacks, anything you could think of. We got that all there. And I'm also going to announce that we are going to be doing Season 2 of the Goal Line Hockey podcast. It will indeed be returning, so I'm very excited for that. We've had a little bit of time off. I'm kind of trying to lay out a specific structure to the podcast just to make it a little bit less of me just rambling on about stuff. So we will be trying to do that. So if you're interested in that, make sure to keep an eye on that. And you could do that by subscribing to the channel. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.